This offseason, 7 NFL teams released new or updated uniforms, and we are going to grade them. And while most of the changes were positive, there was one team that we almost had to fail, and no, it wasn't the Rams. So stick around to find out who the disappointment was. Hello, and thank you for joining us on the first ever episode of the Jersey Score, the channel where we are going to review and grade uniforms, nicknames, logos, colors, you name it, across sports. Now, my name is Trevor, and today we are going to grade the 7 new uniforms in the NFL. And while overall we really liked a lot of the changes, some of the uniforms were very impressive, there were others that left us wanting. And now, to be clear, we are grading these uniforms based on the changes they made from last year. So were they able to find what was wrong and fix it? Were they able to keep what was good and build on it? Are these uniforms that are going to last, or are they going to have to go back to the drawing board in just a couple years? Really, are the fans, can you really see the fans wanting to wear these jerseys? And so with that, let's get into it. At the top of the class, we have, and it should be no surprise to anybody, are the Los Angeles Chargers with an A+. Their new uniforms are perfection. They took what was already one of the better uniforms in the NFL and made it arguably the best. And they did this through simplification. You don't see any unnecessary lines or anything on here. Just the bolts on the shoulders and down the pants, and really highlighting the powder blue and that yellow combination. Those main 4 combinations that they have are absolutely beautiful, which leads us to our one tiny nitpick, which is they don't really need the 2 color rush uniforms. I really just want to see more of those original 4 combinations when they're on the field. Having said that, those other 2 uniforms are still better than most in the league. Cleveland Browns are number 2 because of poop. At number 2, we have the Cleveland Browns with a solid A. I can't say solid. At number 2, we have the Cleveland Browns with an A. And these things are as good as the Browns could do when your primary colors are brown and orange. They really went back to a retro look with the stripes on the shoulders, the 2 stripes down the pants, and then even around the socks, and really cleaned it up. They don't have the orange jersey anymore, just the brown and white combinations, which are actually really nice. For once, the Browns are going to have something to be proud of that they put out on the field. The only knock against them is they missed the opportunity to introduce a logo for the team. Not to put on the helmet. I like the tradition of keeping the helmet clean, but they need a logo other than just a picture of an orange helmet with no logo. And they have options. They could have gone really retro and kept with the theme of the uniforms and brought back the elf that they had or updated it. But even better, we think they should have leaned into the dog pound. That's representative of their fan base and really probably the most iconic part of the franchise, and pay homage to them. But other than that, these uniforms look great, and never thought I'd say this, but the Browns look good. In at number 3 are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with an A-. Now, with Tom Brady coming to town and having some of the worst uniforms in the league, the Bucs were in desperate need of an update. Can you imagine Tom Brady wearing alarm clock numbers? What the Bucs did was basically took their uniforms from their Super Bowl winning season, which are much cleaner, much more simple, and really more traditional. And they look overall really nice. Now, we did mark them down because there's nothing that makes them really stand out, but for once for Tampa Bay, that's a good thing. In at number 4 are the New England Patriots with a B+. Again, with Tom Brady gone, this is the perfect time for the Pats to update their look. And they went in the direction that I think most people wanted to see them go, which was embrace that retro look that they sometimes wear with the stripes on the shoulders. The reason why we marked them down is they didn't take that retro look quite far enough. They could have gone back to the white helmet and added a white pants combination in there, maybe even a red jersey alternate. Also, I think a lot of fans would have loved to have seen the old logo return. However, they elected to keep the Flying Elvis look. It's been the logo throughout the most successful period of the franchise's history. So it makes sense that they'd want to keep ties with that. But if that's the case, I would just minimize the usage of that logo and keep it off the shoulders. But other than that, it's a really good look. We just think that there was some missed opportunity. At number 5, we have the Atlanta Falcons with a C+. Now, they certainly needed to change those outdated uniforms. All they do is remind everybody of the largest collapse in Super Bowl history. But these ones kind of missed the mark. It seems to be that their approach was to take some retro as well as modern elements and mix them together, but it just kind of falls flat. I like the clean look of the uniforms, and I like the solid black jersey with the red highlights, but the numbers are funky and distracting. Same with the ATL on the front. Would have preferred just a nice clean red stripe on it to really give that accent. But where the Falcons really went wrong is with their alternate, with the red to black, with the gradient in there. Those things are trash. They need to get rid of those, and that really hurt the Falcons overall. The bright spot for the Falcons is that they'll still use their throwback uniforms. Now those things are fire. They are really sharp. It's the black uniform with just little red highlights throughout, and they even used the old logo on the helmet. This is also a strike against them because they had this sitting in their lap, and they could have just used this and made a white version, and this probably would have gotten the Falcons an A+ easily. Instead, they decided to take a risk, go a little bit funky, and what they ended up with is just kind of ho-hum. So for that, we marked them down. In at number 6 are the Los Angeles Rams with a C. Now this one's a real head scratcher because the Rams missed the most obvious solution right in front of them, which was to go back to the blue and yellow uniforms that they used to use before they moved to St. Louis. All they needed to do was get the blue on the helmet to match, and those things were basically perfect. Now the reason why I didn't fail the Rams outright is because they did need to change their uniforms, even though they completely overshot the mark. But what they did come out with was actually fairly decent. And before you freak out, think about it this way. If the Rams were an expansion team and they came out with this look and the logo, would everybody hate it nearly as much? I don't think so. So let's look at what the Rams did put out. Their helmet, I like it, and that double crescent look, it's kind of a different take on the ram horn. You see it paralleled throughout the uniform on the shoulders, which looks really nice. In the numbers, that's not my favorite, that textured look. On these other numbers, it's the gradient. It doesn't look terrible, but I just prefer to leave gradient off the uniforms. Another place you see that is on the blue pants. You see the stripe has the gradient. But overall, this look is pretty clean, sharp. The blue and yellow is a little different than the traditional Rams, but I do like the combination. Not sure how I feel about the look of the bone color instead of the white uniforms. We'll see how that looks when they get out on the field. The part for me that's really weird on the uniform is the patch above the left breast, which looks very much like the ad space that the NBA now has on their uniforms. And so I wonder if that's something that the NFL is testing. Overall, the look that the Rams did put out, even though it's vastly different than what fans were expecting, really isn't terrible. It's a pretty sharp look, and for that, we didn't fail them outright. And in the last place are the Indianapolis Colts with a D+. Now you might ask how I could score somebody so low when the changes are so minimal on this uniform. But for me, the Colts already had a perfect timeless uniform and did not need to make any changes. Now they're just opening the door to make more and more changes in the future. What saved the Colts is that the changes overall were a wash or not too terrible. So for example, they added the use of the secondary logo. It's fine. The new font I actually like, but I like the old font. They changed up the numbers. I think the old ones were cleaner and more simple, but again, probably won't even notice once they start playing. The biggest knock for the Colts is actually adding the tiny black Nike swoosh on their white uniforms. Now, I really like that shade of black. They call it anvil, and I like that imagery of the anvil and the horseshoe. And so it looks really good with these colors, but just by introducing a little bit of black, that means they might start introducing more and more. And I think that they should just keep the traditional blue and white, really clean, simplified look. So for me, the Colts come in last. So what did you think of the grades? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please let me know in the comments down below, and let me know how you would grade each of the team's new looks. And if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and we will see you next time on the Jersey Score.